Thank you very much. Jazakallah khair, Brother Thawfeek Al Mubarak, and also Brother Arafat Rahman, and also Mafaz and the team for setting the entire platform to have a thought provoking, thought sharing, and inshallah successful session. So, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu wa salamu ala Nabi Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Respected elders, my dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May peace, mercy and blessings of Almighty Allah be with all of us. Before I share my humble thoughts with you, I really want to take this opportunity to thank Almighty Allah and the entire organizing team for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on the subject of Islamic finance market. What are the potentials, what are the opportunities, and the global reach, how we can really tap into this untapped market of the Islamic finance industry. So, I really wanted to, if I can share my slides, I can move forward, inshallah. What we are trying to cover on the Islamic finance market, growth potential and the global reach. If you really look at, the entire Islamic banking and finance industry, there are so many topics can be spoken about. Today, given the time, maybe for 45 minutes to 1 hour, I really wanted to share what it was and what it is today, and what are the hurdles and the threats that the Islamic finance industry faced, and what are the issues and challenges that have been faced in the past and also currently. And then, given all those challenging times, the Islamic finance industry has grown into a global outfit, and there are greater opportunities, growth potential, and the global reach that I'm going to share with you today, inshallah, so that everybody can benefit from this program and make sure they can tap into this promising and very lucrative industry. If you really look at the Islamic finance industry, it started in 1975 with the modern experiment of banks like, Dubai Islamic Bank, Kuwait Finance House, Islamic Development Bank, Qatar Islamic Bank. Those were the initial bank that was set up in the latter part of 1970s, 75, 78, even early 1980, 82, 83. So a handful of banks were established in that period. And Alhamdulillah, if you take 2020, almost 45 years of the Islamic finance industry's modern experiment, it's a 4.5 decades old industry, most of the people think. But in fact, it's a centuries old practice. The Islamic finance industry dates back to 1443 years ago. The basic principles and practices were there during the times of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They did mudaraba and musharaka with Khadija radiallahu anhu. They did trading on a mudaraba and musharaka basis. Now today we have the modern experiment that we are experiencing with Islamic banking and finance, almost 4.5 decades being there, and it's a global success story today. And there are so much of being happening for the last 4.5 decades. And how do we go and look into this entire industry from a different perspective? What will be the industry by when the industry reached a century, 100 years by 2075? That will be the challenge. What contribution that all the stakeholders of the Islamic finance industry can, contribute so that the people who are going to patronize Islamic banking and finance can benefit out of it. So there are so much of happening today. If you really look at what it was in the early stage, there were a handful of Islamic banks didn't make any impact at all in the global financial market. And again, at the same time, many consider the Islamic banking and finance industry is impossible. It cannot be there in the world. There are two systems of banking cannot operate parallelly. Alhamdulillah, it is really happening today. And also they were managing funds to the tune of $10 billion. It's nothing compared to the global wealth that was there at that time, and even the global wealth as of today, also which is of almost $360 trillion. Many people had so many questions to ask when the early stage of Islamic banking and finance. What religion has to do with finance, or what ethics has to do with finance? It's just a dream. It can never be a reality. It's only good in those good olden days, not in this fiercely competitive contemporary business world. And some people just go and say that it's only can be applicable only in these Muslim countries, not in the non-Muslim countries, or the Muslims are minority in some of the countries. You cannot adopt Islamic banking and finance. All those notions, all these people's question, it has been answered over a period of 4.5 decades. But still there are questions that are yet to be answered, that we will look into those questions, inshallah. And also some people say it's the same thing. Some people call interest, Some people call Islamic banks call it profit. Instead of touching the nose this way, the Islamic banks are trying to touch the nose the other way. So they try to complain, condemn, and criticize about Islamic banking and finance without knowing what it is all about. The real challenge is to bring that awareness. Alhamdulillah, today this program with Bidyapeet and First Global Academy, mainly to bring that awareness for the people to find out what it is all about. What are the potential of this industry? How can you reach the entire global market, which has been really untapped? So that is a challenge that we are trying to conclude by the time we finish our program. And there were a lot of challenges we had. Sometimes if you wanted to go into a country to set up an Islamic bank, and it's very difficult. The central bank doesn't understand how it operates. They don't know how to fine-tune their regulatory framework, how to monitor, how to supervise, and how to control Islamic banks. And that education process has to be given to that respective country. And it was a challenging time. Most of the Islamic banks had initially when they launched the first Islamic bank in a particular country. So educating the regulators is the most important thing that they add. And once it has been established, and the second challenge is to bring awareness. People don't know. They think it's the same thing like the conventional banks and the Islamic banks. And that awareness, the education part to the masses, it was very important at that time so that people will come and patronize Islamic banking and finance. And again, very difficult to attract funds at that time because of the hindrances of regulatory and also the competition in the market. And lack of innovative products being developed and non-standardized products and services that, sometimes one of the country approve a particular product, another country disapproves. One Sharia board approves, another Sharia board disapproves. So these are the challenging situations that the entire industry was facing in the early stages. Now, alhamdulillah, if you really look at, some of the countries, they have a unified, apex body under the central bank, one Sharia board there at the top level. If there are any dispute between any Sharia boards between the banks in a particular country or a jurisdiction, they can go to the higher Sharia authority or the Sharia board at the central bank level to make sure they come to a level playing field and they approve those products without disturbing the market. And there were dearth of professionals. People didn't know what Islamic banking is all about. And most of the people from conventional banks were absorbed to the Islamic finance industry. And their notion was, hey, it's the same thing, man. It's like we called interest before, now we are calling it profit. We charge 5% interest, we are charging 5% profit. They didn't know the real concept. And over a period of time, the bank started training the people, who are conventional bankers. And also they started training new staff who are really, are studying about Islamic banking and finance. And the industry started growing. And if you really look at, after the global financial crisis, most of the universities, most of the colleges, most of the institutions, they started programs on Islamic banking and finance. Today, there are so many universities are offering, diploma programs, postgraduate diploma programs, undergraduate programs, MBA programs, and PhD programs today. Over the period of last 10 to 12 years, we have seen a growth of all these, the program that have been really established by these universities. So again, a dearth of Sharia scholars. There are a handful of Sharia scholars who are very much qualified in their Sharia law, and also they know something about banking and technology. They really was having a competitive edge, and they sit in most of the Islamic banking Sharia boards. And that's a handful of people. You can count maybe 10 people, 10 prominent Sharia scholars sit in most of the Islamic bank Sharia board. So there were dearth of Sharia scholars. We need more and more scholars to be trained and educated in this particular industry so that they can also be there in the Sharia boards of different banks. Alhamdulillah, today there are so many Sharia scholars that have been groomed and they are adding value to the industry today. And again, a risk of capitalizing on the digital transformation. Islamic banks sometimes think that the digitalization process is only for the conventional banks. Now they are woken up. If they wanted to compete in a level playing field, the Islamic banks has to go with the market demands, go in pace with the market demand. If they are asking for digital transformation of the branches, physical branches, they have to get into the digital transformation. So these were the challenging times or the threats. But mashallah, today, if you really look back, Islamic banks are ready to compete in a level playing field with the conventional counterparts. And also the challenges, these are a few of the challenges that the industry face. I'm just sharing that again. There were no lender of last resort by the central banks when an Islamic bank being established in a particular country. They will think there are so many conventional banks are there in the country, and one Islamic bank comes into the country, and the central bank will say, why should I play the role of a lender of last resort to one Islamic bank? If there are two, three, if there's a competition, they can play that lender of last resort. But over a period of time, the central banks also was educated to play that role, because the Islamic banks comes under the the jurisdiction, the banking sector jurisdiction, the regulatory framework of the central bank. So they have to make sure they treat the Islamic banks and the conventional bank alike. So they had uniformity in regulatory framework subsequently. Initially, no legal framework or no legal regulatory framework is being uniform. So there were so many issues that people used to face in the Islamic finance industry. Alhamdulillah, today, if you look at the capital market, if you look at the money market, there are so much of improvement that has happened. But still, after all these challenges, still today, for the last 4.5 decades, 45 years, I feel that being in the industry for 30 years of these 4.5 decades, I still tell the people, saying that still 20% of the market potential being tapped. The entire 80% is wide open for you and I to tap into this industry. So these are what challenging times. If you compare how it was 4.5 decades ago, and if you compare now what it is today, it's a really amazing, challenging time that they are faced, and they are really established. Islamic finance industry has established as a global success story today. Alhamdulillah, they are managing funds to the tune of $2 to $3 trillion, and there are Islamic financial institutions established in more than 70 to 80 countries today. There are 1,400 Islamic financial institutions being established in more than 70 plus countries. So if you really look at that, even the global wealth, there are $360 trillion is the global wealth as of 2020. But comparing with the Islamic finance industry, the Islamic finance industry has amassed or brought only 1% of the global wealth to the Islamic finance industry over a period of 4.5 decades. Just imagine the growth potentials. If you really wanted to bring a fair share of that 99% of the global wealth to the Islamic finance industry, the potentials are great. And also looking at the global population, 7.8 billion people on the face of the earth. And given this global financial crisis and also this COVID-19 that happened, 18 months ago, that has brought about so much of, calamities or whatever the damage it has done to the individuals, corporates, and the government at large. If you really look at that challenging time, there are 4 billion people today. Out of the 7.8 billion population, 4 billion people are below the poverty line. Almost they are earning $2 per day without knowing when and how they are going to get their next meal. So these are the challenging times we are in, and we have to make sure the Islamic finance industry can grow and they can add value to the society. If you really implement Islamic banking and finance in its true spirit and sense, inshallah. And also, if you really look at the market demand and the global players, everything is shifting today. The market demand is shifting, and the global players are looking at the Islamic finance industry as an ethically driven, Sharia compliant banking and finance. They wanted to now, today, the global banks and global lending agencies, they are not only acknowledging the viability of Islamic banking and finance, they are getting into the Islamic banking and finance, and they wanted to capitalize on the demand for Islamic banking and finance. Today, you see the conventional banks, they are coming out with Islamic banking windows, independent branches, fully fledged subsidiaries, and there are Islamic banks who are converting fully, conventional banks who are converting fully into Islamic banking outfit. Why? Mainly because of the demand for Islamic banking and finance. There is money in it. It's commercially viable. Islamic banks are not charitable institutions. A lot of people think that Islamic banks are a charitable institution. No, they are there to do business. It is commercially viable, and that's what even the conventional banks wanted to enter into the Islamic finance industry and want to capitalize on this industry. So global lending agencies and global Western banks like HSBC, Standard Chartered Bank, Citibank, and all these global conventional banks have got into the Islamic finance industry to tap into this market potential. And as I mentioned to you before, how do they enter into the Islamic finance industry? They have a conventional banking branch network. They want to start Islamic banking window within their own branch, and they make sure they get their Sharia approval. Their products are approved by the Sharia board. They have a proper firewall. proper demarcation of offering the conventional banking product and offering the Islamic banking product without any commingling or mixing of funds. They have to make sure the Sharia board gives that approval. Yes, you can offer Islamic banking products provided you adhere to these conditions. The firewall has to be there. You should really properly demarcate what you're offering as Islamic finance product. So with that Sharia approval, they start Islamic banking windows, and also they converted the branches. If you have a branch network of 20 to 30 branches are there in conventional banking, they will identify 5 or 10 branches, and they will convert the entire branches into a Islamic banking branch with a proper branding, and as if it looks like a branch of an Islamic bank. And with the support of the Sharia board and a management team, they will make sure they have independent branches under the conventional banking umbrella. And also there are conventional bank, they have a subsidiary. If you look at the Citibank, and a subsidiary called City Islamic Investment Bank in Bahrain. I have to make sure that there are subsidiaries been established under a group. If you really look at in Kuwait, there are NBK, National Bank of Kuwait, and you have a Bubian Bank, which is Islamic. NBK is conventional under a group structure. And also recently we have seen there are banks which are merging. Both two Islamic banks are merging, and Islamic and a conventional banks are merging in order to become a bigger Islamic bank, so that they can do bigger deals. Their balance sheet, with the balance sheet power, they can go into the global market and compete with the conventional banks, so that they capture deals and also structure deals in a Sharia compliant manner. So this is how the market is shifting. If you really look at bank, if you look at the Islamic banks can offer everything what a conventional bank is offering. You don't need to have a conventional bank with Islamic banking window. You can establish a fully fledged Islamic bank with all what a conventional banks can offer. The Islamic banks also can offer while complying with Sharia principles. That is what the real thing that has to be real, what you call structure that has to be promoted. People think the Islamic banks cannot offer what a conventional bank is offering. You name it, whatever the conventional bank is offering, the Islamic banks also can offer whilst complying with Sharia principles. To that extent, the Islamic finance industry has grown over a period of 4.5 decades now. That's what the challenge. Early stage, they didn't have those respective products. Today, you talk about anything what they wanted to offer, they can offer. You want to have retail banking, corporate banking, investment banking, private banking, anything, internet banking, GSM banking, digital banking, phone banking, you name it. The Islamic bank also can offer while complying with Sharia principles. And again, when market is shifting, there are so many things that we are experiencing in the world. The entire technology is changing today. Everything is shifting today. If you remember, if there are bankers, who are listening to me today, and if you remember, we used to do offline. Everything was offline. We used to do batch processing. When you do the batch processing, and by the end of the day, by midnight, there will be a end of the day run by the computer department in the bank, and the next day printouts are being produced, so that the next day, the morning, when each department will get their printouts to know what happened in the previous day. Now today, the technology is everything is online and real time. Whatever the transaction that you do, it's online and real time. You can see the input and the output of the transaction. It's been processed online and real time. And also in-house to outsource. Now everything is getting outsourced today. People don't want to get their burden on their corporate payroll. They wanted to outsource. It is very cost effective, and they thought, there are so much of, synergy that they can build by outsourcing in order to cut down their cost, and they make profitability, to increase their profitability. Those days, the security, the help desk, the cleaning, the processing, all that were done in-house. Today, everything is getting outsourced. You sign up a service level agreement, give it to another third party, so that the bank can focus on the core competencies. The bank can really focus on their revenue generating products. So the most of the operational aspects being outsourced. And then today, if you really look at the human to robots and machines and the gadgets, that's what the changing. If you have a mobile phone, sometimes the gadget has been changed the entire human interventions on most of the situations. So people are looking at how can the robot service, as a meter greeter, a robot will stay there and welcome the staff. Earlier, there was a human being who was sitting there as a meter greeter. No more human being standing there and somebody else is, inviting you to the bank and, salutation, whatever they wanted to do. So people are getting scared now. If I don't, will the human knowledge and the skill will become redundant? Will the bank will fire me? The robots and the machines and the gadgets are trying to replace the humanity. So that's why the people are getting scared. So again, if you really look at that, the skills has to develop. The technology is there to support the humanity. The humanity has to make sure that they get themselves educated and they go into building up their knowledge and the skills so that they become relevant in whatever the challenging times or whatever the technological advancement that is going through in the world today. And also, if you really look at the physical to virtual economy, all what we did physically, we can do virtually today. You name it. If you really wanted to order some food item, you can order, you can pay, and the food will be there at your doorstep. You want to order some grocery from a supermarket, you go online and order and pay, and your groceries there at your doorstep. And if you want to watch a movie at the comfort of your family, you can download a movie, pay for the movie, and you sit there. You don't need to go to the theater, you sit and watch. And you want to get a degree from an international university, you don't need to travel, you don't go and follow lectures in that particular university. You can sit at home and you can get your degree. Even you can participate in your convocation to get your certificate today. That's what we are seeing today. Similarly, there are theft and the crimes that are happening physically, like physical theft that happens in the house, the burglary, and people come and rob your house, rob your property, whatever. Same thing is happening virtually. There is cyber crimes happening today. There are cyber crimes happening today. People are looking at how do we mitigate this? What are the risks of these cyber crimes? So everything is happening virtually today. And again, the trust between the humanity, the trust between two people is getting fading away. People don't want to trust each other. They say, no. We will have a blockchain software so that we have some smart contracts among the people, network of the people who are dealing with that, so that the technology can be protecting the trust. You can't manipulate any of the contract without my knowledge. If it's personally, you can break my trust. But the technology will make sure if you do any change in the smart contract, I will come to know that you did some manipulation, some change. So people prefer not the human trust. People prefer to trust the blockchain technology to have some smart contracts. And also the genuine to artificial intelligence. We are talking about artificial intelligence. So that's what that's what we are really looking at. How we can really make sure when everything is shifting, my cry, my proposition, my suggestion to the entire world, those people who are really into the conventional banking industry, I wanted to welcome everybody to tell them why not you shift from conventional banking to Islamic banking and finance. And everybody, when I just give this proposition, people saying, why should I? Why should I move from conventional banking to Islamic banking and finance? What is there for me? And what is there for all of us if we really wanted to move from conventional banking to Islamic banking? Now the people started realizing the fact that Islamic banking and finance is more or less more ethical, more transparent, more social, and more religious at the same time. And the Islamic finance industry want to protect the fabric of our society, and they don't want to go and fund projects which are harmful to the society. And the people are getting realized today. And I will touch base in my futures. The slides, inshallah, whatever I'm going to share with you, how the entire global market is looking at ethics, social, moral aspect of the transaction, and where the Islamic finance industry fits in like a glove, fits in like, together, whatever the global bodies wanted to establish or, promote in the global market, Islamic finance industry is already there. It encompasses within the industry, within the principle. What is needed is that awareness. That is the challenging time that we all are facing today. I really take this opportunity to thank Bidyapeet and all the team for giving this program today to bring that awareness, inshallah. And the market potential, if you really look at the market potential and global reach, this is my core subject today. If I really want to talk about how do we boost the entire Islamic finance industry in order to tap into these opportunities, the market potential, and to reach the entire global market, every nook and corner of the world. How you can really reach Islamic banking and finance to every nook and corner of the world. That awareness has to be brought. First thing is the awareness. The second one is expanding the target market. And the third one is going beyond Islamic sentiments. We are going beyond Islamic sentiments. and bringing conventional best practices to the Islamic finance fold and the digital transformation to be relevant. These are the 5 areas I really want to touch base, and I will conclude my session, inshallah. I hope I'm really controlling my time. And coming back to the what you call the awareness. What is that awareness? Most of the people don't know that the Islamic finance industry over the last 4.5 decades, only 20% of the market potential being tapped. And the entire 80% is wide open for you and I to tap into this industry. And I always say that the Islamic finance industry's growth potential is largely untapped due to lack of understanding as to what Islamic finance is all about. People doesn't know. Majority of people doesn't know. Even the Muslim doesn't know what Islamic finance is all about. And they are confused between the interest of the profit and loss sharing. And how can we educate the non-Muslim when our own Muslim brothers are not aware about Islamic banking and finance? The first challenge is to convince our own Muslim brothers and sisters to understand what Islamic finance is all about. And the second one is to make sure that, the non-Muslims also understand what Islamic finance is all about. And they will also come and patronize and capitalize from this 80% untapped market potential. 80% untapped market potential. So that is one of the awareness programs that we should bring into. And as I mentioned to you at the early stage, I told that only 1% of the global wealth being tapped by the Islamic finance industry over a period of last 45 years. Only 1%. And sometimes we drum beat and we say that, Islamic finance industry is growing at a rate of 10 to 15% annually, managing funds to the tune of $2 to $3 trillion. When you really go deep into the numbers, and for me, it's very meager. $2 to $3 trillion is nothing. It's nothing. It's peanuts sometimes. We all stakeholders of the Islamic finance industry has to look into the bigger picture. We can't say that we are managing $2 to $3 trillion and we say that we have done our part. No, we are not really tapped into the industry. We are not really contributed for the well-being of the entire society. We are not really created value to the individuals, the corporates, and the governments at large today. We can play a bigger role. We don't need to play a role which we are just managing 1% of the global wealth. That's not the target. We have to have a 10 times. We have to have a 10 times goal. In the current decade, Islamic finance industry has to grow 10 times by 2030 and beyond. That is the challenge for all the stakeholders of the Islamic finance industry. That is the message that I really wanted to give to every stakeholder of the Islamic finance industry. Wake up. This is an opportune time to have that 10 times impact or 10x impact in the global market, given the crisis. If you really look at the crisis that we are facing, the COVID-19 pandemic has brought about not only the global financial crisis, they have brought about economic crisis, health crisis, and humanitarian crisis today. So if you really look at bigger the crisis, the Islamic finance industry can really capitalize and add value to the society. These are opportune time to capitalize and contribute and tell about the Islamic finance industry to the world. So this way we can really tap into the industry. And again, I'm repeating this again, tap into the 99% of the untapped global wealth by the Islamic finance industry. There should be a fair share of the Islamic finance market. At least if you look at the Muslim population, there are 20% in the world. 1/5 of the global population is Muslims. At least the Islamic finance industry should be managing minimum 20% of the global wealth. Minimum 20% of the global wealth. That should be the benchmark. And then tap into more than the 20%, bringing all the other non-Muslim people from all other faiths and beliefs, ask them to come and patronize Islamic banking and finance to create a society which is not harmful to them, harmful to the people. You go and fund projects which are beneficial to the society. So that should be the challenge that we should always look into. And coming back to the bringing the conventional banking best practice. Sometimes we think, conventional banking is haram, they are dealing in interest, and we try to, make sure no, we don't want conventional banking. If you really look at the conventional banking setup, how the global banks, when they started Islamic banking window and independent branches, and most of the Islamic banks learned from the conventional banks best practices what they had. What are the best practices the conventional bank has? They have an excellent management team. They were technology driven. Whatever the latest technology that comes in, the global banks adopt At the same time, if you really look at their products, they have innovative products they come out with. They come out with innovative products. They come out with innovative products so that they have different risk return profiles to offer to the market. And at the same time, their customer services are excellent. When you go into a conventional bank, a global bank, you just get into the bank. Somebody will come and ask, yes, sir, yes, madam, what can I do for you? And you will tell, I wanted to pay for my credit card. I want to open a bank account and my ATM card is not working. Somebody will take you to the right person and you can talk to this gentleman and he will give you an answer, man. So that is the treatment that the global banks gave when it comes to customer services. And the same thing has to be adopted by the Islamic banks. Those are all Sharia compliant. Apart from the interest-based transaction, what they do, all the other activity that the conventional bank is doing, they're all Sharia compliant. That has to be brought into the Islamic finance fold. Excellent management, innovative product development, technology driven, and excellent customer services. If they can bring it to the Islamic banking fold and with the innovative Sharia compliant product, Islamic traditional values and technically sound Sharia scholars, unique branding, and if you can merge together, you can reach the market. You can, offer Islamic banking products to the global market where not only the Muslims are going to come and patronize, even the non-Muslims, people from all walks of life and people from different faiths and beliefs are going to come and patronize the Islamic finance industry. And that is the challenge that we all are putting forward to the stakeholders of the Islamic finance industry today. And again, coming back to beyond Islamic sentiment, this is one of the most important aspects that we all have to look into. Sometimes we say that Islamic banks were offering those days for people who think that, this mainly Sharia compliant. Yes, Alhamdulillah, all the Islamic banks have that DNA is Sharia compliant. Sharia compliant. And the Muslims want to enter into the Sharia compliant banking and finance in order to obey their Lord. Because Almighty Allah prohibited riba and permitted trading. Almighty Allah prohibited interest, riba, interest and usury in sterner terms to the extent of waging war against Almighty Allah and His Messenger. To that extent, those people who understand the the critical nature of riba, to what extent Almighty Allah has prohibited in sterner terms to the extent of waging war with the Creator and His Messenger, and those people who understand the message crystal clear, they will shun dealing in riba in every aspect of their life, and they will shun dealing in riba in every aspect of the transaction, provided they get the message crystal clear. If not, they will look for loopholes, they look for definition, they look for justification in order to accommodate interest in their day-to-day transaction, and they will justify that it's Islamic. So again, the message about riba has to be understood clear. Now, when we offer Islamic banking products, that we know about riba being haram or prohibited in Islam. What are we trying to tell the Muslim community? No. You want to come to our bank. If you don't come to our bank, you will go to hell. No. We have to provide them an excellent customer service to welcome them. You can't offer lousy services and they can be Sharia compliant. You don't have proper product range and you want people to come to the Islamic bank. You don't give them, proper channels to come and operate with the bank, and you want them to come and patronize Islamic banks. So you have to make sure you offer different, risk return profile, different product range, different pricing or competitive pricing, excellent customer services, different channels in competition with the conventional banks. And if you do that, everybody is going to, come to the Islamic bank and patronize Islamic banking and finance. Even the non-Muslims who are in the conventional banking sector, they will come to the Islamic bank if your pricing is good, if your services are good. Leaving the Sharia part, leaving the Islamic sentiments, what do the non-Muslims want? What the people from other faith and beliefs want? They want excellent customer services. They want competitive pricing. They want different distribution channels. Those are the things they are looking at. If the Islamic banks can offer that, and they are the winners. They are the winners, and they can compete with the conventional bank to grab a share from the conventional banking shop, or what do you call the market size. So those are the things that we should really look at when it comes to beyond Islamic sentiments. And again, market potential. Now today, if you establish an Islamic bank, take any country, if you establish Islamic bank in a particular country, the first thing the management look at, their business plan, everything is being structured in a manner to tap into the Muslim community in that particular country. And that notion has to change. When Islamic bank been established in a particular country, maybe Muslim, maybe minority in that particular country, when Islamic bank been established in that particular country, whether the Muslims are majority or minority, the offering should be catering to the entire masses. Without confining them to the Muslim community, it should be open up to the entire masses, whether they are Muslims or non-Muslims or whatever the faith they belong to. Therefore, you are expanding the size of the market. You are not going to compete in a smaller pie. Today, most of the Islamic banks are competing in a smaller pie, competing with each other. Oh, that Islamic bank is offering that particular product. We also want to offer. So they are competing in the smaller pie. If they started competing with the conventional banks offering to everybody, their pie is bigger and all the Islamic banks has a fair share to absorb from the market. It's a very important message to all the banks. I'm telling you are competing within their own peer groups. That is, you all get collective together and make sure how you can expand the size of the pie. So there, everybody can play, and everybody. Now, sometimes we say that, oh, another Islamic bank came up, another Islamic training institution has come, another guy is doing whatever, on the Islamic finance. No, nothing wrong. Let the industry grow. Let the so many institutions come on board in the global market. Let them copy you and repeat whatever that you are doing. The size is bigger. The market size is bigger. There are 80% of the market potential being tapped. Let them take a share of that, 80%. 80%. You don't need to worry about, you will get your risk. You will get your fair share if you really competing with ethics in the market. So that's what we have to educate the people on those lines. And again, if you really look at the Islamic finance industry, and there are 25% who are extreme, they will say, no, I don't have preference for Islamic banking and finance. I am driven by the pricing and better value only. And there's another 25%, what they say is another 25%, what they are really looking at is what? Another 25 of the market, whatever treatment that you give, I will go for Islamic banking, Sharia compliant, you don't have a better customer service, lousy products, whatever, I will come to Islamic banking because I want to obey my Lord. There are 25% at the extreme, another 25% in the extreme. But there are 50. That's what they are really looking at today, inshallah. So we have to tap into this 50%, the target market opportunities to bring into the Islamic banking fold. And again, coming back to the, bringing excellent customer services, we used to talk about know your customer. And all the bankers will know what do you mean by know your customer. Compliance, risk factor, we must know where he's bringing the money from, how he's going to deal with the bank. And these are global regulatory requirements that we have to make sure we have to know your customer. The entire trend is changing. Not only you should know your customer, the challenge today of all the banks is to keep your customer. Again, a KYC. Keep your customer, because over a jiffy, over a small click of their phones, just a click away, they can switch your bank to a competitor. That is the trend today, the technological trend. I will share with you on one slide on that, inshallah, how the technology is transforming. And again, keep your customer. That's the challenge that you really want to make sure. How to keep your customer? Those days we are talking about customer retention. Every bank was talking about we have to retain our customer. And they started about customer experience. How can we give a better experience to the customer when they come to the bank? How do we really make sure that we serve them better? They had a good experience with our bank and they will become loyal customers. Now that also has changed. Now the customer attention. Then they take the mobile phone. There are so many advertisements are going in the mobile. There are so many things passing about. They have to bring that attention and at a very, in a jiffy. And once they get that attention, they click and they started banking with you. So they are looking for products, in their palm top. So the digital transformation, you have to digitally transform to be relevant. Otherwise, most of the banks, whether Islamic bank or the conventional bank, most of the banks will become irrelevant in this technological space. It's really, going at a speed. You have to keep pace with the changing demand today, technologically. So coming back to again, market potential. I'm not really looking at the Islamic finance market as a small market. There are no opportunities. I am looking at a bigger picture. And this last 18 months, COVID-19 pandemic has opened up so many people. The lesson that I learned in the last 18 months is beyond what I learned 40 years ago during my lifetime, 40 years. I learned this 18 months, so many things that we learned. I mean, if you ask anyone, what are the lessons that you learned in the last 18 months? Everybody will, vouch me. Everybody will say, yes, I agree. Lessons that we learned in the last 18 months, we have never learned 40 plus years ago. 40 plus years we didn't learn. So the challenging time today, even the global bodies, they wanted to structure deals or come out with products or financial transactions which are more environmental friendly, more socially acceptable, and also applying governance in whatever the transaction that they do. The ESG, environment, social, and the governance aspect of the transaction. So the global bodies are looking at investing which are more environmental friendly, socially viable, and also the governance being established in those transactions. And they have a ranking. They are grading those investments today. But if you really look at the Islamic finance principles, the Sharia principles, all these ESGs are inbuilt in the Sharia principles. They don't know. If we wanted to educate them, we have to go and tell them your ESGs, your ST, social, sustainable development goals. It's all part of whatever the good things that you wanted to do. It's already there in Sharia compliance. It's already there in the Islamic finance industry. So we have to bring that awareness to the global market. Oh, we thought that Islamic finance industry is only for the Muslim community. Those people who have a long beard or an ankle level trouser or a dishdasha or who are wearing a skull cap. That is the notion people have. People think Islamic finance is only for those people. They don't know that the Islamic finance industry is governed by the Holy Quran and the Sunnah, the traditions of our Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And the Holy Quran was revealed not for the Muslim community only. It's for the entire mankind, irrespective of what color, what religion, what ethnic group one belongs to. Therefore, the Islamic finance has to be branded for people of all faiths and beliefs. That is my real message. How to bring, all the people from all walks of life should be coming and patronizing Islamic banking and finance, and they benefit in whatever the transaction they do, whether it's a financing or an investment transaction. And again, I wanted to quote this particular quote: bigger the global financial crisis is greater the opportunities to all the stakeholders of the Islamic banking and finance industry. When I say all the stakeholders, I am not confining myself to the Muslim community only. All the people who can come and patronize Islamic banking and finance, they are going to benefit given this crisis that they are facing today. So this is one of the most important aspects that we can really look into. And finally, if I really wanted to conclude saying that, my time is coming up, and I really wanted to finish it with one or two slides. Today, if you really look at the growth potential of the Islamic finance industry, last 4.5 decades, no government today, no regulator, no central bank or no monetary agency, or no global or local institution, any financial institution or any market player can ignore the growth potential of the achievement of the Islamic finance industry, which is a multi-trillion-dollar industry today. So the challenge for all of us who wanted to enter into this industry, who has already entered into the industry, and who really wanted to raise or scale up on the industry, look at the long-term picture, a century of Islamic finance. What will be the Islamic finance industry when it reaches 100 years with a modern experiment of Islamic banking and finance? 100 years. You and I might think, are we going to live that long to see 100 years of Islamic banking and finance? We will not be there. But we can make a dent. We can plant that seed now. The generation to come will one day, they will praise. Those people who are there in the industry 50 years back, and they did something valuable at that time. And today the Islamic finance industry is thriving, and everybody is benefiting from that industry in its true spirit and sense. That is what really message that we really wanted to give. A centuries old practice, mashallah, centuries old practice, but there are centuries of it became 100 years with the modern experiment with that centuries old practice. So these are the few things I really wanted to make sure that I want to share with you. And if I have time, I really wanted to make sure what difference you and I can make as a winner to yourself and to your family and to others around you. If you give me 5 or 10 minutes, I can share a small story with you, and then I can conclude my session. It depends on the moderator. If you give me another 5 minutes, I can share the story and I can conclude. Please let me know. About my time, I really time me to finish it, whatever the time allotted for me. And over to you, my brother. Thowfeek.
Yeah, many thanks, Brother Ikram Thowfeek. We were enjoying your session, and as you mentioned that if you are allowed 5 more minutes, of course you are allowed 5 more minutes, and I would love to listen to you more. And please go ahead with your experience, please.
Thank you very much. This is a particular, if you look at the picture, what I'm trying to share a story with you so that everybody can repeat the story among their family members, who are really meeting your school, your teacher, whatever the corporate entity you are dealing with. And this particular story, I really wanted to make sure how people are really facing the challenging times today. And this story is very much relevant. I really wanted to share with you, given this pandemic, the lockdown, the curfew, businesses are down, so many things, people are into the negative frame of mind and they don't know their potential. And what I'm trying to share with you, there was a giant eagle. There was a giant eagle that was flying up in the sky with all its majesty. If you really look at the eagles flying up in the sky, you will wonder that giant bird. And then people call that the king of all the birds. King of all the birds. One fine day, this giant eagle came into a big redwood tree where there's a nest. The eagle sat on the nest and started hatching the eggs in the nest. And when he started hatching those eggs, and there was a small baby eaglet popped up from the nest. It started hatching. And then what happened after some time, the eagle wanted to, fly back because of, in order to fetch food for these baby eaglets. And the giant eagle flew back in order to fetch some food for this baby eaglet. And there was one particular egg that was not hatched properly. And because of the movements of this baby eaglet, this one of the particular egg was shot out from the nest, and it fell onto a bush and onto a footpath, and then it broke open. When it broke open on the footpath, and a small baby eaglet popped up. A small baby eaglet popped up and wondering where to go. Without knowing where to go, this baby eaglet. And there was a passing chicken family, a mother chicken and a baby chicken that were really, chicken moving in that particular footpath, and they saw this baby eaglet. And the mother chicken asked this baby eaglet, "Hey, who are you?" And the baby eaglet said, "I don't know." And again the mother chicken said, "Where are you coming from?" And the baby eaglet said, "I don't know." And the mother chicken yelled it again, "What are you doing here? What are you doing here?" The baby eagle said, "I don't know." You don't know who you are. You don't know where are you coming from. You don't know what are you doing here. Then why not you come and join with me, with my family, and we will go together. And this baby eagle didn't have any other option. It tucked its wings and started moving with the chicken family, moving with the chicken family. And they started moving, and they started, after some time, this baby eaglet learned all the techniques of the chicken family, how to stack the gravel in order to fetch for food, put the beak down, and, eat those worms and the insects, like the other brother chickens were doing it. So it learned everything, and, whatever the chicken family is doing, this baby eaglet also learned like a chicken family member. And one fine day, when they were there out, looking for food, and the worms and the insect, while they are catching the gravel for food, and there was a bird that's flying up in the sky. And this eaglet saw that bird and yelled at the chicken brother, "Hey, what is that big bird that is flying up in the sky?" And the chicken brother said that, the chicken said to the baby eaglet, "Oh, that is called the king of all the birds. We cannot fly like that bird." And this baby eagle looked at the giant eagle and started, putting his beak down and started, knocking at the beak in order to fetch for what you call insect and worms for as food, and started living like a chicken, and it died like a chicken. And never ever realized the potential. If that baby eagle is growing, if it has taken the wings and taken the flight, it will be same like that giant eagle, which is called the king of all the birds. And many of us today, Many of us today, given this COVID-19 pandemic, we all are thinking that we don't have the capabilities. We are being curtailed. We are moved into a negative frame of mind. We don't know our great potential that Almighty Allah has blessed every one of us. We don't know the potential. We think that whatever we are doing with this environment, that is our capability. The day that we realize and we can take the wings, you will also fly up in the sky like that giant eagle, like the king of all the birds, and everything will be open for you to tap into this entire growth potential and the opportunities and the global reach that I'm talking about today. With that message, I really want to conclude this note, and I hope that everybody benefited from this program. And thank you very much. Wahir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Jazakumullah khair.